You are now tuned into the sounds of Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Haiti, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Nathan Snell, Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode 13, season 17 of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. And in this episode, my official WNBA 2024 draft, mock draft 1.0, is official. But before we get into that, there's a few things I would like to say up front. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Bree McDaniel for coming on the podcast. We had a great episode. Please check that episode out if you have not already. It's already up, as well as the previous episodes. Episode 14, I will record that tomorrow, as well as reaction to the Commanders and the Ravens. So stay tuned in for that. I've made a decision about Maryland football because we don't play Auburn until the 30th. So I'm not going to really talk about Maryland football right now at this time, but we will get into that because there's a couple of things that have happened since our last regular season game. So I'm going to hold off on talk about them for now. I do plan on getting free agency, MLB free agency video up at some point. That's the goal. But for right now, we're just going to focus on the Commanders, the Ravens, Maryland Terrapins, men and women. Men just beat Nicholls State, which felt like a trap game today. We'll recap that tomorrow as well. But yeah, just stay tuned in for the great content. In this episode, the meat and potatoes, my 1.0 mock draft is officially live. A couple things that I took into consideration. When I look at these 12 picks, I think with the exception of Alyssa Pillay and maybe Charisma Osborne and JC Sheldon, most of what I have can actually go back to school for another year for the 2024-2025 season because they have the extra year of eligibility because of due to COVID. I think that this draft and potentially the 2026 draft, I think have game changers and franchise changers. I mean, I'll say that, but you get what I'm saying. For me, when I couldn't do a mock draft right away because one thing that I take in consideration when I'm looking is where does a player best fit? You have to kind of also look at what they have. Like, for example, I saw some mock drafts and I'll use Camila Cardoso, for example, out of South Carolina. They had her going to Seattle. not disagreeing with that. I saw one where she could potentially go as far as below towards the top 10. They had Minnesota taking some, I forgot the young lady's name from Australia. It's all about what fits best. And for me, things could change. This is just where I feel as though these 12 players will fit, in my personal opinion. This was tough. There was a couple players I said potentially could be a first rounder, and it could be an early second round. This, like I said, it was tough. And again, this is a 1.0. Things could change, but for me, just off, especially, I think kind of where everyone left off in the W with the W season. These are where I think these are my first 1.0. These are where I think these 12 players will be. So the WNBA draft lottery was on the 10th of December, and the Indiana Fever, for the second year in a row, were awarded the number 1 overall pick.
What kind of shit?
Congratulations! Oh my God.
The Los Angeles Sparks had the 2nd overall pick. The Phoenix Mercury had the 3rd overall pick, and the Seattle Storm finished off the top 4. With that being said, with the number 1 overall pick, the Indiana Fever select Caitlin Clark. Now, for me, I can see Indiana doing one or two things. Keeping the pick, seeing what they could get for the number 1 overall pick. I agree that most of the likely she is the right person for this pick. There's really not much. We already know the type of player she is. She's exceptionally well enough on the side of the ball. I mean, when you just look at her, there's really no flaws. She picked up where she left off last year, especially getting to the national championship. I think defensively she's got a little better. But the biggest issue that you kind of look at is you have a core that now has Aaliyah Boston, Alyssa Smith, and Kelsey Mitchell. I don't think it's easy to say trade them all, because what are you getting in return? And also too, like, for example, this is no shade, but a couple people said Erica Wheeler should be traded. And a couple of things people have to understand is who's taking on that contract. I feel as though those are the type of things I've taken consideration. I think they got a good core. My only concern is what you can get for it. I kind of see Indy kind of hanging around and saying, "Oh, okay, let's see what we can get for it." I don't see her returning back to Iowa because she can return. And I just think she is a superstar. Her and Aaliyah Boston are going to do great things together in Indiana. I think that's definitely a 1-2 punch in the WNBA, in my personal opinion. And respectfully, we look at Indiana. They need a shot creator, a perimeter shooting, ball handler, facilitator, and a lengthy wing player. And I think Caitlin Clark fits that. I considered Cameron Brink, maybe Paige, but there was no one really else. But really, if any of these 4 lottery teams could take her, they would. So Indiana, I think, is a no-brainer for Caitlin Clark. Excuse me. With the 2nd overall pick, I said the Los Angeles Sparks should take Cameron Brink. For me, Cameron fits them. Same thing. I think looking at the first 4 teams, I even make a case for even the top 6. Because Los Angeles needs wing players, especially wing players that can score the ball and perimeter shooting. My only issue with her is her ability to take you off the dribble is one thing, but how is the spacing going to be in a limited offense? I really feel as though if you're Los Angeles, I'd take her. I considered here Paige Beckers, but I think they kind of have the backcourt, in my opinion. They're going to get Jasmine Thomas for another year. Zaya Cook, Lexi Brown will be back healthy. I think they're going to be a little too guard heavy, and I think they can use some inside presence. Because I mean, I'm going to keep around. Let's with NECA, especially getting older, it doesn't hurt to find her eventual replacement. So I feel like she is, to me, Cameron makes the most sense because she is the best forward center in her draft class, and one can make the argument she's the best post player. Because if you just look at the stats, I think she could definitely do some things. I think she does need to bulk up a little bit, especially to be more efficient at the rim. I think, and again, I would like to see her a little bit more developing a perimeter shot. I think for me, what's going to be concerning is her foul trouble, because especially, I mean, even though I watched some of her tape, she's gotten better, but I think players that beat her, especially at her size, that's going to be a little concerning. But I mean, when you look at her size, that doesn't impose a challenge. But I think she will just need to just bulk up, and I think she'll be fine in the W, without a shadow of a doubt. With the third overall pick, the Phoenix Mercury select Paige Beckers. For me, Paige kind of fit them. Same thing. I think Phoenix, you need perimeter shooting, and just like Los Angeles, I'm gonna take it back. Los Angeles needs more of a ball handler. They just need shooting. But I think again they already have that. But I think same thing. You could take a wing player or for a perimeter shooter. But for me, Paige would make the most sense here. One, it's going to be the end of an era with Diana Taurasi. It's going to be her last year. Now, my only concern is for Paige going to the next level. I think it will be a great player in the W. Is she the mental perspective of transitioning from UConn to the W? Now, and no way, I don't want UConn fans to come at me. She has all the tools to be a great player. The biggest thing is staying healthy, and especially now that AZ, and there's something we'll be watching this year now, because with AZ Fudd out for the rest of the season, get well soon, AZ. It's going to be interesting to see how, from a leadership perspective, how she takes over and makes the others around her better. Because she exceeds expectations, no doubt about that. But I think she does need time, especially this season. This is her really true first healthy season, and she's still finding her game. I give her, and same thing like we talked about this one earlier today with Bree. It's all about patience. The rust will be there. It's going to need time to shake off, and she'll be fine. I kind of see her in that where she could be a off the ball guard and get her shots. I think she can pass the ball, and I think from a natural facilitator perspective, I think she'll make a great role in there. Because you'll be alongside Brittany Griner, and I know Megan Gustavson will be there another year. Mariah Jefferson probably will most likely resign with them, and you'll have DT. It's going to be interesting. And I think also to be take consideration, free agency. And I didn't even talk about Cameron Brink, Los Angeles, Jordan, Canada, is also there. That's why I didn't consider Paige going there, because Los Angeles, I can see them paying Jordan for sure, in my opinion. With the fourth overall pick, I said the Seattle Storm should take Aaliyah Edwards. Yes, another Husky in the top four. Personally, I think what Seattle needs size in shooting, and I think they also need in backcourt. But again, Joel Lloyd, I think they're going to definitely address that for sure in free agency. Jordan Horston, she's going to come back strong next year. For me, the reason why I said Aaliyah here, because outside of Ezi Magnabagor, and I kind of struggled with this. I considered Angel Reese here. I considered Carmela Cordorsa, here. I considered a forward center. I think Aaliyah fits them better in terms of this perspective. I just think rebounding, and among post players, especially last year, she was 8th according to the metrics. And especially her work at the rim. I think she just has a great frame that allows her to take up space defensively. And especially now, again, she's asked to do more. I mean, you just look at her rebounding, her rebound numbers have doubled. And I just feel like for me, she will fit them personally because she doesn't play alongside Ezzy Magagor. And I think the rest will fill up around itself. And that was tough for me. You take your pick. You could take Angel Reese or Camilla here as well. But I feel like Aaliyah will fit best here, in my opinion. With the 5th overall pick, the Dallas Wings select Rakia Jackson. Now, same thing. Dallas, they need someone that can facilitate the ball, wing player. And I think they have, in my personal opinion, they have depth. They're just not being developed. This is something even before Coach Trammell came to Dallas. You're drafting great talent. Like, example, they had the number 1 overall pick, Charlie Collier, not developed. You got Maddie Segrist. You just drafted Veronica Burton. You have Stephanie Soros that you traded for to the Washington Mystics last year. More than likely, Kalani Brown will either re-sign with Dallas or someone else is going to pay her. My concern is it wouldn't hurt to take a wing player. To me, I think Rakia makes the most sense for Dallas. I think her shooting needs a little bit more work, but she is the potential. She has great potential. I think the ceiling is high for her. I think she will make an immediate impact with Dallas. I think she will learn, especially under Coach Trammell's tutelage, especially even though she's not the best defender, she will learn. She will become a better defender, especially in that front court. And that's going to help mask her. That's going to help mask the issue while they develop her into a good defender. And I feel as though I just think with Dallas it's a little tougher because now you got to pay Satu. You have to pay Satu Sabally, and that's going to be interesting to see what they do in free agency. It's all about the money and their salary cap, in my personal opinion. Number 6 are the Washington Mystics. This was tough. We need perimeter shooting. We need someone that can facilitate the ball, and we need a shot creator. And this was tough. I looked at all the options. I had Chesley Ledger Walker here, Chelsea Sheldon, Chris Osborne, Rakia Jackson. I even considered Alyssa Pile, and I personally said Angel Reese at 6. I just think for me, it wouldn't hurt having her back here in the DMV for one of a couple reasons. I think it wouldn't be a surprise if we could see her and Shakira Austin definitely be a 1-2 punch in that paint. I think you can always find a guard, especially now that the biggest thing is Natasha Cloud and Elena Deladon are now free agents. Will be free agents this upcoming free agency period. So don't know if that's going to happen. So they're going to find her replacement. So and most likely they're not going to reach for a perimeter shooter unless, knowing Mike, he will probably trade this pick. And knowing him, because especially now, Tiana Hawkins, don't know if she'll be back. And then I feel like having a front court pairing with Shakira Austin, and then alongside also Queen Enegbo, I think that can definitely be something I wouldn't sleep on personally. I just think Angel fits that personally. My only issue with Angel is the development of a jump shot, but her mid range is getting better, and her court vision to me is a major plus, particularly against all post players. In the W, I still have questions whether or not she can be a stretch four, but I think she would definitely more be a presence in the paint. And realistically, she could either. I consider her go to Phoenix. I consider Phoenix. I even consider Seattle. I even at one point when I redid it, because I did the 1.0, I did look back at all the what was needed for each team. I even went as far as 8. I don't think she's going to go as low as 8, in my personal opinion, in this draft. So it wouldn't surprise me if Angel Reese is there. I'd take her. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Mystics trade this pick. With the 7th overall pick, the Minnesota Lynx select Charlize Ledger Walker. This one was a bit tough. I actually considered Alyssa Pillay here because they need a shooter, they need size in the front court, and they need someone to facilitate the ball. For me, they, I think, got a shot creator to me in Tiffany Mitchell. Diamond Miller was there to me. She plays like she's a wing, but plays like a guard. I feel as though that she is the best pick for them, and I considered this. This was tough because I think you could go with any one of it. Could I consider again JC? I considered Elite Camilla here because they need a center. But one thing I've learned about Cheryl, she always wants her guards to have a little more size. And that's why we saw Tiffany Mitchell and Rachel Banham last year playing point. And I think it makes more sense why I would see Charlize be the pick for Minnesota. And watching her, especially during the Cancun Challenge, not only can she facilitate the ball, but in the pick and roll, she can get it out to, her place, drive and kick. She can get to the basket on her own. And her mid range is just something that I think Cheryl will love. And I think offensively, this is what they need. I just feel as though if you went with another forward, I think it would have to be Alyssa. It wouldn't surprise me if it was Carmella. I think, really personally, I think Charlize is the pick here for Minnesota at number 7. Number 8, the Atlanta Dream, Carmella Cardosa. For me, I think this makes the most sense. I considered Elizabeth Kitley here, but I think Carmella makes the most sense. They need size. They need another shooter and someone that can dish the ball, in my opinion. To me, the biggest thing they need Atlanta. They need a true veteran. I think they're a veteran player away from being a contender. But if we look at best available player, I think Carmella gets that. For me, she would definitely be a backup to Cheyenne Parker, or even play next to her. And also, knowing Cheyenne's perimeter skills, I feel as though when you look, especially, I'll give you an example. Watch them against the Dallas Wings last year. They got when I'm all about rebounding. I think is one of the biggest things. The rebound battle is always going to be key when winning basketball games. But when you look at their numbers on the defensive and even offensive side of the ball, rebounding wise, that it was very, very one-sided.
Mm-hmm. I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
And I think that's what they need. And I mean, outside of maybe Letitia here and oh my gosh, Iana Repair, but they're not players I'd put out there. You need somebody. I mean, they didn't have anyone they could really turn to, and it's no disrespect to them, but they weren't ready for the playoffs, in my personal opinion, and they went small. And I think for me, for someone who's played in the second unit at South Carolina and now in that starting role, I think she would be a great fit in South Carolina. That's just for me. Now, before we get into 9 through 12, let's get into the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? You can and you will with Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
You can and you will dress like you're already famous with a nice 15% off using my discount code off your final purchase, Big Nate, as you see here on the screen. Thank you so much for Zagnif Apparel for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. And we're back. Let's just get back into it. With the 9th overall pick, I said the Dallas Wings should take J.C. Sheldon out of the Ohio State. Again, Dallas, same thing. I think they do need to get a little bit younger in each position, someone that can dish the ball off and a wing player. And I think for me, J.C. kind of fits that, in my personal opinion. That last year she only played 13 games because of a leg injury. Especially that first season we came back from COVID, she was the 6th best point guard. I just think that she just has a motor that can't be denied on both sides of the ball. I think she takes that Ohio State team as far as she can take it, in my personal opinion. I think she is a 3-level scorer. I think that's something that will impact, probably I think will impact the W. It will carry over to the W. And I think Dallas fits that. She plays like a veteran. From look at the tape, especially watching her when Maryland plays them, and imagine her in an offense. Especially you have a Rike kind of playing off ball. You can see a little bit of pick and roll with Satu and even Natasha Howard. As a head coach and as an opposing head coach, that would make me figure how to scheme against them defensively a little better. And I think JC fits that. And I think that's the type of player I think would fit Dallas. Now, personally, I consider her to go to – I also consider the Lynx. I also consider Atlanta. I even went as far as to consider Washington, personally. I don't think, for me, she's going to go any lower, maybe 10. I do see her being a first-round pick. I would be shocked. It wouldn't faze me, knowing last year. there was definitely some surprises. It wouldn't phase me, but I cannot see her not being a first round pick for sure. With the 10th overall pick, I said Connecticut should take Charisma Osborne out of LSU. Osborne, this would be her 5th and final year. And I think they are, as of not mistaken, as of a few weeks ago, they were the best. They were the number 2 team in the nation. I think personally, she fits them from the standpoint of they need shooting. I think particularly from the guards. I think they can get the size in free agency. I already kind of see Bree Jones already re-signing with them. I already see that. It wouldn't hurt. I even consider Carmela here. I considered Elizabeth Kitley. I even considered, oh my gosh, Connecticut was a little tougher, personally. I just think really they need a little bit more bench play for sure, because especially kind of down the stretch, especially going to the playoffs, there was really it was kind of disappointing that the role players didn't really step up, and I think this will be a good year. And also to keep in mind, Olivia Nelson-Odata, especially when Bree Jones went down with her injury, she stepped up. So look for her to have a good year. That's why I took away not needing size. I think you kind of already have that, but it wouldn't hurt to find that in the second round, even free agency. You can find a vet personally. I also considered here Alyssa Pillay. Biggest thing is they just need offense from their guards, and I'm not mad at it personally. With the 11th overall pick, I considered here Alyssa Pillay out of Utah. Personally, the reason why I said she should go here to New York, one, even though she's not the best defender, she's a very versatile offensive player. And I think she could definitely work well. I also consider her being at Connecticut. But I think from a defensive standpoint, Connecticut to me is more of a defensive team. And it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't faze me if they took her, because Connecticut would be another example where they may see her offensive upside definitely impact the team for sure. But I'm not mad at New York. I just think that she can do a little bit of everything, and I think I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I'll take it back. I think she will do exceptionally well. I think she is an offensive bucket. You can really 10 and 12, 10 through 10, 11, 12 were kind of tough for me. I think you could really flip these picks personally. I'll even go as far as saying 9 through 12. But I see her definitely being a first round pick. I even consider her going to the Washington Mystics, because particularly from the guard perspective, we do need shooters, and I get it, but the Ryan Howard thing, we gotta let that go. That was we're now in 2024. I get it. I didn't like us trading number 1 overall pick, but I understood it at the time. So it wouldn't surprise me if Alyssa's taken here. But again, this is just 1.0. Things can change for sure. And then the last pick of the first round is Georgia Amoore out of Virginia Tech. Los Angeles, perimeter shooting, wing players, personally, in my opinion. I considered also Elizabeth Kitley here, but I feel as though Georgia would be the best pick. Biggest thing, same thing. I think looking at her tape, she's a great dribbler. I think she can score the ball, even at her size. I think she excels on the half court and transition game. I think the only question I have is improving as a shooter, particularly as a 3-point shooter. I think she will definitely help Los Angeles on the perimeter because that's something Los Angeles lacked all last year. And especially as a ball handler, and I think that court vision, something alongside with that, along with Neka Gumike, and that could be something. But again, it all depends on what Los Angeles does in free agency because I think the biggest thing is Jordan Canada. I cannot see Los Angeles not signing her, but it wouldn't be surprising, like I said, because I have them taking Cameron Brink. So why not take Georgia? So that is my 1.0 mock draft. You guys let me know what you guys think. Again, it's all subjective. This is just the first one. There's still plenty of time, and free agency for the WNBA doesn't start until January. So that's another thing I think that's definitely going to change some things. That's why I kind of held off on really waiting, especially I waited until after the draft lottery. And also too, I kind of feel it's too early to do mock drafts in my personal opinion, especially we're getting close to free agency. And the biggest thing is there's some great free agents who stays, who goes. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, Caitlin Clark is number 1 overall pick. That's not going to change. But 2 through 12, all can change. Let's see what happens after the first round of free agency. For all I know, is Breonna Jones could be a Washington Mystic, for example. Hell, for all I know, that the Washington Mystics could trade the 6th overall pick and they can get in the top 3. Or Skylar Diggins could be traded to the Indiana Fever. Who knows? So it's all subjective. So let's get into the last part of Big Name Sports Talk, and that is the one final thought.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
Well, one final thought is, especially now that we're getting the one thing I love about sports is that we can all have a conversation. That's why I really started that's why I started this podcast. The goal of this podcast is to create conversation. We can agree to disagree. But the one thing I don't like it, and this is kind of one of the reasons I've somewhat taken a step back. And I talked about in the last couple of videos ago, I'm not really on social media like that, unless it's posting something regarding Maryland Terrapins or just really being careful on what I'm saying. And there's some things where I said, I made a post like, going forward, I'm just going to be staying silent and keeping receipts. The one thing about when we give our opinions, we can agree to disagree. Like, one of my favorite people within the W community is Lo from the committee. Shout out to her. Love her. But I mean, there are things that I disagree with. This is not a shot at her, but there are things that she says I disagree with, and that's okay. However, I have an issue where we get to the point where we want to start threatening people over an opinion. Lo has, to me, the most impactful person. She's done a lot in this community. I mean, just the things the moves she's making. And again, it's not just her, the committee as well. We all have a difference of opinions. That is okay. We don't have to have this like-minded thinking. For example, I will for however long Lamar Jackson's here, I've made it clear from day one since came in the league, they don't want to see him as a quarterback. They want to see him fail. And my opinion, these next 5 years, the media will find ways, and they've already done it, to tear him down and saying, well, see why you don't pay a guy that kind of money? I'm already going to watch that, especially with sports. Again, we're all critical of players. We're all critical of talent. that's about the one thing about why I love having these conversations. Because guess what? It starts a conversation. We can agree to disagree, but it turns me off when we get to the point where we start bringing in emotions and getting personal. And I thought the person on Twitter that decided to make that threat, that's uncalled for, because the fact that you could get that sensitive over an opinion, it just lets me know, like, I can't have a conversation with you. And there's some people like that. I have friends where we have serious conversations. It may get heated, and sometimes, you know what? I'm gonna end the conversation there. But I say all that to say, look, when we have conversation, I'm all for that. But respect one's opinions. If we all had the same like-minded thinking, I don't think we would progress as a global community. And I just want us to be mindful of that. Let's be diverse. Some people are going to think differently from me, and I'm going to think differently from them. That's okay. I may not like it, but it's their opinion. They're entitled to it, and I have to respect that. And I would hope in return they'll respect where I'm coming from. Now, you may call it out. You may call it the question. Example, last year, I got flamed for coming to the defense of Carson Wentz. And this year, there's some things that I'm hearing about Sam Howell, but like I said, I'm not going to talk about that right now because that's for another video. But my point is it's opinion. We can all agree, disagree. So that's all I want to say. My one thought. And again, man, like it's basketball. It's an opinion. Like the fact that we could get that's sensitive and threaten to assault somebody that you don't even know. As my mom said, sometimes we don't think of the consequences. So that's all it's going to be for this episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, please like, comment, and subscribe. You will see the next episode we recorded tomorrow. Also, to be aware, we will be going through some more cosmetic changes of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Well, we'll do that over the Christmas break. So there may be like a week where you won't see episodes because we're working on the cosmetic stuff, but we will be back. So until then, I'm out. Peace. Stay up.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you do.